I used to spend hours filling up my sketchbooks, page after page, crammed with drawings, only to shove them into a drawer and forget about them. And sure, the process is everything, but still, those ideas, those sketches, wasn't there more I could do with them? Every now and then, I'd remember a drawing and I'd try to dig it up, flipping through stacks of old notebooks. But by the time I found it, the spark had faded, or I'd have to try to recreate the whole thing from scratch. That is, until I started doing one simple thing. Scan everything you draw. Seriously, I scan everything I draw. You see, usually I won't think much of a drawing right after I've drawn it. I'm not sure why, but I won't see it as good or worth developing at that moment. But when I look back a week or so later, I'll often go, hey, that's actually kind of cool. Having that drawing digitized and ready to go makes it really easy to grab it, develop it, try out different compositions, and turn it into a finished piece. Once I started doing this, I noticed a real uptick in productivity. I wasn't getting stopped. I was able to keep up my momentum and stay in the flow of creativity and utilize those drawings that I'd spent hours on. Since I draw everything from my imagination, I never know what might inspire me. A little character I sketched today might be the perfect addition to something I drew last week, or even something I haven't drawn yet. I think of my drawings in layers: background elements, main subjects, secondary characters, stuff like that. It helps that my style is kind of cartoony. Often it's just contour line, kind of shapes and forms, that kind of thing. And I usually stick to a pretty consistent perspective. That makes it easy to mix and match drawings. They're all in the same universe. So how do you turn these little drawings into usable line art? Well, here's the process I've been using. It's not the only way to do it, but it works well for me. I use Photoshop, but any graphic editing program you're comfortable with should do the trick. First, I scan the notebook page. If you don't have a scanner, a photo works too. Once I bring the image into Photoshop, I desaturate it and use levels to enhance the contrast and minimize the paper color as much as possible. If the lines still look a little light, I'll duplicate the layer and set the new layer to multiply to darken them up. Once the line work looks solid, I use color range to select the line color. And then I create a new layer and fill that selection. Now the line art is separated from the background. From here I can isolate a section of the drawing I want to explore and play around with the composition and move things around freely. I select the area around the image, invert the selection, and fill it with the background color on a new layer. And then I just link the two layers together. Now I've got a movable drawing I can actually move in front of other elements, depending on how I stack the layers. Later on, I'll bring everything into Procreate to clean up the lines and refine the shapes so they fit the perspective. My coloring process is really basic. I just start with analogous colors, shifting the values at first, and then shifting the hues slightly until I get something interesting. Shadows are done on a multiply layer above the color layer, with the opacity turned down a bit. I have a file that's made up of a collection of backgrounds from previous projects. And this is kind of cool because I can drop an image into it and toggle through the different background colors to see what might work well. Once I land on a color scheme I like, I'll tweak both the background and the subject colors using all of the adjustment sliders. And this is the fun part, really. And here's how it ended up. I'd be interested to hear about your methods for taking your sketches and creating line art from them, or if you have a way of collecting your drawing ideas that makes them available for you. Please let me know in the comments. And thanks again. See you next time.